Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm sorry for any kind of background noise you might hear. There is a loud cricket right outside my window and it was getting picked up, so I had to turn on my fan to hopefully drown it out. I'm going to try to get rid of the fan. If not, I'm really sorry. So today I am going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit. It's title championship records. Now, as you might know, I've been a huge supporter of making the records matter. For example, when Azumi was up for getting the high-speed championship belt and becoming the youngest ever one, I was a big supporter of having her do that because I felt like that would have been a really good thing for her. And so I decided to, go through and try to figure out what all of the championship records are. Because it's a big talking point. They do matter, in my opinion. I know some people don't really care, but to me they do. So in this video, we will be talking about all of the belts in Stardom. So that means the Artist of Stardom belt, the Goddess belts, the Future belt, the SWA belt, High Speed belt, White belt, and Red belt. And for each one of those, I will be talking about the Inaugural Champion, the Oldest Champion, Youngest Champion, Heaviest Champion, Lightest Champion, most times held, Shortest reign champion, longest reign champion, longest total reign champion, and least single reign defenses, most total defenses, and most single reign defenses. Now, each one of those is their own thing. The first ones are pretty self-explanatory. Shortest reign, longest reign. Longest total reign means if someone has held the belt more than once, then all of the time that they've held the belt, that's what it's going to be counted for. So, for example, if Io held the red belt the first time for 100 days and the second time for 50 days, then her total reign would be 150. Least single reign defenses, the person with the lowest amount of defenses in one reign. Most total defenses, obvious, as many defenses as I've ever gotten with that belt, and so forth. So let's get started. And let's go. So for the Inaugural Champions, of course, we're going to be starting with the least important to the most important belts, in my opinion. So we're going Artist, Goddess, Future, SWA belt, High Speed, White, and then Red. Starting with the Artist of Stardom belt, the Inaugural Champions were Act Yasukawa, Natsuki Taiyo, and Saki Kashima. Then moving on to the Goddesses of Stardom belts, the Inaugural Champions were Yoko Bito and Yuzuki Aikawa. Future belt, Starlight Kid. SWA belt, Io Shirai. The High Speed belt, Natsuki Taiyo. The White belt, Yuzuki Aikawa. And for the Red belt, Nanae Takahashi. Now, going through these, you're probably going to be noticing a lot of patterns. Certain names showing up a lot. And that's because in the early days of Stardom, they kind of kept the belts on people very long. Like, in the first 2 years, the belt almost never changed hands. So it's pretty much always the same people for those first 2 years. And that's where a lot of the records come from, unfortunately. So moving on to the oldest champion, we have Artist of Stardom, Kyoko Kimura at 39 years old and 197 days. Then the Goddesses of Stardom, Kyoko Kimura again at 39 years and 89 days. The Future belt, the oldest champion, is Utami Hayashishita at 21 years old. Now, this is tricky because we don't actually know Micah's age. It's private on the Stardom's website, and nowhere else even has any kind of inkling what her age could be. So, unfortunately, she can't count, and there's only been 3 champions for the Future belt, and one of them was Starlight Kid. We know she wasn't the oldest. Next is SWA belt at Viper with 26 years and 326 days. High Speed belt, Mary Apache at 37 years, 298 days. The White belt, Dark Angel at 34 years and 56 days. And then the Red belt is Meiko Satomura at 35 years and 251 days. As you can see, old in Joshi is subjective. When the oldest person on the list is not even 40 years old. Yeah. Going on to the youngest champions now. For the Artist of Stardom's, Azumi at 14 years and 196 days. Goddesses of Stardom is Momo at 18 years and 246 days. Future belt is Starlight Kid, and she was either 16 or 17 at the time. Now, she's another one whose age is not given, but we do know some information that helps slow it down. Not slow it down, narrow it down. Starlight Kid is 18 now, as of right now, and she has graduated high school. So, going off of that, we can know that when she won the Future belt, she was at least 16 or 17. Next is SWA belt with Toni Storm at 20 years and 279 days. High speed belt is Koguma at 17 years and 33 days. Now, if I had my way, Azumi would be here. She had the chance to do it. They had the perfect opportunity to do it, and they just didn't do it. And it's just a huge shame. Next is the white belt at Momo Watanabe at 18 years, 62 days. And then the red belt, Yoshiko, at 21 years and 15 days. I could see them trying to scrub some of these people from these champions. They can't change the inaugural champions. Of course, those are always going to be there. And none of the oldest champions are really on bad beef. But I could see them trying to get the red belt championship, the youngest champion, record to someone else other than Momo or Yoshiko. And the person who could do it would be Momo. Next is heaviest champion. Now this one is kind of interesting because some of these girls, their weights are inconsistent, and then some of them are just don't seem right. So I just went off what I could find. For the Artist of Stardom belt, as far as I could tell, Viper is the heaviest champion at 209 pounds. Then for the Goddesses belts, it's Alpha Female at 168. Then the Future belt is a tie between Utami and Maika, since they're both billed at 143 pounds. SWA is Viper with 207 pounds. High Speed, Mary Apache at 150. White belt is Yoko Bito at 137. And then the red belt is Alpha Female at 168. Now going on to the lightest champion, this is just like the other one. It's going to be inconsistent. It could very well be wrong on some of these, but as far as I can tell, this is the most likely. For the Artists of Stardom, it's Azumi at 88 pounds. Goddesses of Stardom, Natsumi Shozuki and Yuzuki Aikawa at 110 pounds. The Future belt is Starlight Kid at 99 pounds. SWA is Io Shirai at 119 pounds. High Speed is Riho at 93 pounds. White is Yuzuki Aikawa at 110 pounds. And then it's also tied with Arisa Hoshiki as far as I could tell. And then for the red belt, it's a three-way tie between Io Shirai, Kairi Hojo, and Mayu Iwatani for 115 pounds. Now, those are the two most inconsistent ones because weights change all the time, and what you build isn't necessarily the truth. So, let's just go on to the more concrete ones. Most time held, Artists of Stardom. As a team, Io, Azumi, and Hazuki held it twice. And then also, Mayu, Saki, and Tam held it twice. As an individual, though, Io Shirai holds the record at 6 times holding the Artist belt. Goddesses of Stardom is a tie, a three-way tie. For 3, it's Kairi, Kyoko Kimura, and Jungle Kiona. The Future belt is a three-way tie with 1, Starlight Kid, Utami, and Maika, since no one has held that more than once. SWA belt, I decided to not even do that one because it's just like the Future belt. No one has held it more than once. Everyone holds the record. High Speed belt is Natsuki Taiyo at 4 reigns. The white belt is 2 times, and it's a tie between Io Shirai, Act Yasukawa, and Mayu Iwatani. The red belt is a tie between Io Shirai and Mayu Iwatani for 2 reigns. Moving on to the shortest reign champion, we have for the Artist belts, Azumi, Io, and Hazuki with only 21 days. The Goddesses of Stardom, Kairi Hojo and Natsumi Shizuki held it for only 34 days. Future belt, the shortest reign was Starlight Kid at 281 days. There's only been 2 people before Maika, so Maika doesn't count because she's currently holding it. And Utami held it longer. The SWA belt is Io Shirai at 64 days. The high speed belt is La Rosa Negra at 18 days. White belt is Yoko Bito at 57 days, and the red belt is Alpha Female at 43 days. The longest reign champion, Artist belts, Io, Hazuki, and Viper at 245 days. The Goddesses belts, 433 days with Yoko Bito and Yuzuki Aikawa. The Future belt is Utami at 409 days. SWA belt is 612 days with Toni Storm. The High Speed belt is Natsuki Taiyo at 679 days. The White belt is Yuzuki Aikawa at 618 days. And the Red belt is Nanae Takahashi at 602 days. Moving on to the longest total reign champion. Artist of Stardom is Mayu Iwatani with 824 days across all of her reigns. The Goddesses of Stardom is Kagetsu with 536 days across 2 reigns. The Future belt is Utami with 409 days, since no one's held it more than once, and she was the longest. And the SWA belt is the same way. Toni Storm, because no one has held it more than once. High Speed belt is Natsuki Taiyo at 1,203 days. That's never going to get broken. The White belt is Yuzuki Aikawa at 618 days. And then the Red belt is Io Shirai at 1,014 days. Going on to the least single reign defenses. With the Artist of Stardom, unfortunately, there are 8 separate occasions, 8 separate teams who had 0 defenses. I'm not going to list them all. I'm sorry, but that's just way too many. That's 3 people per team, and it's 8 different teams. So the Goddesses of Stardom belt, it's 0 defenses as well, and all the people that held it in their teams were Hayley Hatred and Kyoko Kimura, and then Kairi Hojo and Natsumi Shizuki, and then Junga Kiona, Natsuko Tora. The Future belt is 5 with a tie between Utami and Starlight Kid, which is surprising to me because I did not know that they both only defended it 5 times. Next is the SWA belt with a 2-way tie with 2 defenses. It's Io Shirai and Viper. The High Speed belt is 0 defenses, and it's a tie between La Rosa Negra, Shana, and Death Yama-san. The White belt is Act Yasukawa with 0 defenses, and Red is Alpha Female with 0 defenses. Now, a lot of these, it's just because they were transitional champions. But for the Act Yasukawa one, just for some reference, that did happen during the Stardom incident, and that is why she never ended up defending it. Moving on to most total defenses. The Artist belts. As a team, the most total is 5 with Mayu, Saki, and Tam holding the record. Single, though, is Mayu with 12 defenses across all of her reigns. The Goddess belt is Mayu Iwatani with 15 defenses across 2 reigns. The Future is a 5, and it's a tie between Utami and Starlight Kid. SWA belt. The SWA belt is the same as before. High Speed belt is Natsuki Taiyo at 12. The White belt is Io Shirai at 17 defenses, and the Red belt is Io Shirai at 24 defenses. Now some of you can see why Stardom is better off without Io, and that's not a knock against Io. That's actually a huge compliment, because Io was so good and so dominant that no one else could really breathe there, and this is kind of showing that. Next is most single reign defenses. Artist belts. It's a tie of 4 between Hiroyo Matsumoto, Mayu Iwatani, and Miho Wakazawa. And then Mayu, Saki, and Tam. The Goddess belts, the record is held by Thunder Rock, which is a tag team of Mayu Iwatani and Io Shirai, with 11 defenses across 407 days. The Future belt is Utami and Starlight Kid with 5 defenses. SWA belt is 15 for Tony. A High Speed belt is Mayu Iwatani at 9 defenses. The White belt is Momo Watanabe at 13 defenses. And the Red belt is Io Shirai at 14 defenses. So there you go. Those are all of the records for all of the belts and all of the records that kind of matter. There were some other that I could have put in there, but I was like, it just doesn't matter. These are the ones that really matter. And hopefully these aren't set in stone for the rest of time. You know, a lot of these I feel like they could easily get broken. Like youngest champions, oldest champions, they could definitely get broken. Heaviest and lightest, yeah, but like who really cares? Most times held, that will definitely get broken, especially since they tend to have shorter reigns now compared to the early days, but still longer reigns than what they used to have for some of these belts. Shortest reign champions, that could very well change hands sometimes. Longest reigning champion, I don't think most of these are ever going to change. For example, the SWA belt, the high speed belt, the white belt, the red belt, it was a different time. They had to keep the belt on someone who was going to bring people in because they were just starting out, and that's what they did. The most single reign defenses, that's something that I really hope gets defeated by some of these. The high speed belt, as much as I love Mayu, I really hope that Azumi goes on to beat it. She needs 10 or more, or at least 9 to tie it. And then Momo Watanabe, I hope she holds the white belt one for quite a while. And then the red belt one would be a good one to get defeated here eventually. Then the Goddesses one would probably be a pretty good one as well, because we need some teams, you know what I mean? And having a solid team, like the last real team we had, off the top of my head, was Thunder Rock. And then for a short while, Jungle and Natsuko, and then Hana and Kagetsu, and those are kind of like the only real teams that we've had. So hopefully that can change in the future. Just want to take this time to shout out to my Patreon supporters, Miss Solar and Smackdown Podcast. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. I know it's some tough times, and I really appreciate you guys sticking in there. I don't expect anything from any of you guys. And because my videos aren't as consistent as they could be, I wouldn't blame anybody from not sticking around in terms of Patreon support, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, bye.